All right, I'm sure it's a lot, but do you know how many instruments you play, can play, have played?
I would have to count.
Okay.
And it, to be fair, goes in phases, you know, because usually there will be 4 that I practice regularly, depending on what projects I have going on. But like I said, there are quite a few in the studio that...
Right, you said 20 in the studio,
probably.
at least.
I'm just guessing, I'm not sure. But also, being a flutist, then there are all these types of flutes. It's so cool. Every culture in the world has one.
Yeah.
So you can start, you know...
How many different flutes do you own?
Probably a dozen. Different
Really?
bamboo flutes, Chinese flutes, you know, ocarinas, panpipes, all sorts of stuff. That it's all really similar to play, and they all have their own voice to them.
And you also mentioned that you do other hobbies, including fire spinning, which I would love to know more about.
Absolutely.
How did you get into that?
That I first saw when I went to Bonnaroo, and they had a belly dancing troupe that
Do you belly
spun
dance?
fire. I used to.
Okay.
Yes. I can't claim to be any sort of professional at this point, but yeah. So I saw that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do that. That's so cool. And it was kind of on the back burner, no pun intended. But once I moved to LA, I'm like, okay, there's like a scene for everything. I'm sure I'll discover this somewhere. And I was with a friend. This was the only time we ever hung out, and I feel like she was this little angel brought into my life to take me to this place. We're walking down the street towards Griffith Park to go running, and we were talking about, you know, I think when people are unhappy, it's because they don't really know what they want. But when you know what you want, you attract it, you know?
Yeah.
And the light changed, and I look across the street, and there are all these people spinning poi, which is like when on fire, 2 balls of fire on chains. And I was like,
I want that!
That's exactly what I've been looking for.
Oh my God.
Perfect. So we went and met these people. And they turned out to be some really wonderful friends of mine, and I learned how to spin fire from them. And
Is it scary to be so close to fire?
It is. It's cool because, you know, with music, you practice at home, you practice in rehearsal, all this stuff, and then you get on stage, and there's this added element of adrenaline that's really fun to work with. And with fire, that's there, whether you're on stage or not. It's like quadruple adrenaline when you're on stage with it.
Yeah. Is it addictive?
I suppose it could be, but in a positive way.
Do you do other things that involve fire?
There are a lot of different tools that I work with, and a lot of them have similar movements. So you see a lot of people will start with one. For me, it was poi that I started with. And then you start getting curious about others, and you can apply the same movements to different tools. Like I do hula hoop also.
On fire?
Yes.
The whole hoop is on fire?
It has wicks that stick out around it.
Okay,
so
that makes more
a few inches
sense.
from your body, yeah. But it's pretty wild, because when people see it, then it looks like it's touching you. And you can also, there's something called fleshing that I do, where you can light fire on your skin, and it's like running your hand through a flame. You just have to understand the timing of it, and stuff like that, or fire eating is another thing.
Do you do that too?
Yeah. And that's really fun, because it's
How does fire
mind
taste?
over matter. It tastes like whatever fuel you use. Yeah, not that great. Yeah. But and it often smells like burning hair if you're spinning it. 'Cause
you have so much
just the
hair.
whole-
Have you ever lit your hair on fire?
Only very minimally,
Okay.
actually. But
They say it just once
Yeah.
you get it. It just...
no, and you know, you can take precautions.
Okay, good.
But honestly, I got burned more working at the coffee bean.
Oh.
All the milk steamers and hot milk and toasters and
interesting.
stuff. Because with the fire, it's like you really train.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're usually pretty well prepared by the time you're working with it.
Wow. So if you see fire, is it not scary to you, or is it still?
It depends.
When you light that hoop on fire, you still.
In that context, no, it's not
Okay,
scary, but
okay.
you have a respect for it, you know? And especially, I mean, some of my friends have been burned really severely just if something goes wrong, or they didn't plan for, or they're doing experiment, or, and you know, you always take certain precautions, and there's a respect to it, but it's, riding a motorcycle is always what comes to mind when I think of it.
Okay.
You just have to be in the right zone for it.
Yeah.
It's obviously extremely risky, but if you're like, it puts you in this kind of hyper-aware state, and that can be a really positive place to be, so.
do you have any other really interesting hobbies that I need to know about?
Certified yoga teacher too. That's, but yeah, probably fire spinning and playing a million different instruments are the most exciting things.
I'm just like waiting for you to say that you like, I don't know, I can't think of anything cool right now. That you do drapes? Have you ever tried that?
I haven't.
Oh,
no, I have
man.
a lot of friends that do that though.
Or like any trapeze work, acrobatic stuff. Well, you do
Pole
yoga.
dancing,
You could
that's
do.
the closest.
Oh, pole dancing is hard.
Yeah, it is. It's really hard work.
Yeah, I've tried it. I don't have enough core strength for that.
You really have to work to feel graceful.
How much pole dancing experience do you have?
Not a ton. It's something that was like a, solid hobby for like a year, but
there was
as you can
definitely
tell,
a
I
point
like
in
to
time where
experiment.
pole dancing was a big phase for everyone to get into.
Yeah.
Because for fitness, it's amazing, but it was just a cool thing.
You have to have the space to practice it to really own
To
it.
be like, I'm going to put a pole in my living room. Like, how do you have enough space for that?
Yeah.
Or drapes, or hula hoops that are on fire. I don't know. How do you practice
That's a better
that?
like backyard activity.
Yeah, right?
Backyard, front yard, something,
Yeah. Can you imagine all the people driving by seeing you?
Yeah, well, it's pretty funny because we had these parties we would host for a while that they were called Flow Temple parties, and my friend Dan Gordon-Levitt, who taught me to spin fire, is the one who founded them, and so once a month we would have these. Everybody has to participate. If you're there, you're either playing music or you're making artwork or you're fire spinning or whatever it is that you think of to contribute. So we decided to start setting these up in my front yard on Alvarado Street, right in the middle of Echo Park, and we would have a whole jam session happening and live painters set up and fire spinners and like probably 50 fire spinners. And
Wow.
the front yard is not huge, so when people had larger tools, then they'd be going out into the street, and it just became this thing where the neighbors would start to come down like, wow, what is this? What's happening?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And, the cops would stop by once in a while and just see what's happening. They're like, you guys seem to know what you're doing, okay?
Just gotta make sure you're okay.
Yeah, it was an interesting scene, though. Got a lot of honks.
Oh, yeah.